Have you ever wanted to learn how to create a little branding frame around your image instead of doing a watermark? Well, in this video, I will show you exactly that, so stay tuned right after this. Hi there, Magdalena here from the Creative Photography School, and today we will talk about how to set up a little branding frame for your images, where you can have your branding on the bottom or wherever you want to choose to, instead of a watermark. And we will do all that in Photoshop. Me personally, I use the branding frame. I created that branding frame because I don't like the watermarks, because it destroys my images. It destroys my composition, and it's a distraction in the image. Yes, I am still, fussed about protection of my images, but to be honest, my priority is with that you see the image as a whole. There's no distraction inside the image. So what I created is a little branding frame, and it's still sort of, yes, it's a higher risk, let's put it that way, that somebody crops my image out and uses it. But, I'm not too worried about all of that. All I want is that you see my images. There's branding at the bottom still, so you can share it, you can use it, but it doesn't really, there's no distraction in the image like you can sometimes have with the watermarks. But everybody is deciding for themselves. I will just show you today how to do that branding frame, and then you can decide what you want to do with your business. So let's just jump right into it, shall we? Right there, let's get started. This is how my branding frame for my Love That Smile Photography, which is a wedding and portrait photography business, looks like. And this is basically, I will show you now in this little screen recording tutorial how I'm going to do this. And then obviously you can create it again as well with your own branding if you like. The reason why I do a branding frame instead of a watermark is just as I just explained. I just don't like the watermark being like in the middle of my pictures or destroying my composition. So this way, as you can see, it's very not intrusive. The image stays the same, lovely sunset shot from a couple I worked with in 2014. So it's just an enhancement to the image instead of destroying it, so to speak. So in general, just so you know, I base this tutorial on my normal workflow routine, which is that I export my images out of Lightroom. I use in 772 DPI and then 800 on the long edge. This is obviously for web resolution, so you don't want to, on my high-res images, I don't do a branding frame, obviously, because they are for printing. But if I want to share images online and I gift out to my clients, I basically give them low-res resolution images with that branding frame. Right, so let's get started. So the first step obviously is opening up your image, which I've already done here on this example. The next one is, because we want to obviously change the layers around, because we want to put this image on top of the branding frame, you're going to have to unlock and make that layer editable by clicking on the little lock sign. And now you can see it's layer 0. Now we're adding a second layer, because that's going to be our branding frame layer. I'm going to change the order of them, because as I said before, we want to have the image on top of it. Then obviously we need to change the size of that layer, because it needs to stick out in order to come up with a branding frame. So we're going to change the canvas size, not the image size, but the canvas size, and we do it in pixel. For this, as I said before, 800 times 533 is my normal size for the landscape format in this case. And we want to change it to 810 and 573. That gives 10 pixels to the side, so 5 pixels each. And on top, top and bottom, it gives 40 pixels. But obviously we want to have the branding frame at the bottom of the picture, or on the image. So it will also give 5 pixels on top and 35 on the bottom. So you can see it looks like this. So now we want to move the top layer, so the image, up to the edge. And we do that by selecting the Move tool. And we use what I use always my keyboard tools for this. So you can see, yeah, this looks about right. Yeah, I'm happy with that, how it looks. I mean, I could zoom in and make it all perfect, but right now I'm just happy how it looks. Now I have to fill this layer, this transparent layer, with my color, the color of my choice. So as you have seen, it was like a beige type color, which is already selected in here. So that's my color. You can select whatever color you want to use. Press OK, then hit the bucket tool, and so obviously select your layer, or that transparent layer, and fill it up. So now you can see you have a nice, lovely little edge around, and you have something on the bottom. So now we come to the text. So we want to add obviously text to this whole thing. So you select the text layer, or the text tool, and you add a text layer. You select the font color. In my case, that's like this rosé type color. And then you want to select your font. So in my case, it's this. And you can also obviously select your size of your font. So in my case, it's this, and then I can just type in that smile. See, I can't even type. Photography. And I always use my full name at the end of it, but that's just how my brand is, and that is a second font, which I then add to it. But it's completely up to you what your brand is. There we go. That's my full name. Now I basically confirm that layer, so you can see it changed to that name. If I wanted to, I mean, I could move it up a little bit. So I select my Move tool, and then just, you know, move it up. It's very tiny, so it looks kind of all right. But that's it. Now I can merge the layers if I wanted to, or flatten the image. And then you can see it's all done. So I can now save it as a JPEG. I can save it for the web. I can, you know, I can even, if I hadn't merged it, I can just save the PSD. Whatever you want to do afterwards, you can do, and then obviously close it down. So that is really it. Not much else to tell you, apart from that when you're doing portrait, this is obviously a landscape landscape format. So if you're doing portrait format, I always use 543 pixels. So again, the 10 pixels to the edges, so 5 on each side, and then 840 pixels. So again, those 40 pixels to the top and bottom. So it's basically the same for the same amount of pixels I add to the sides and to the top or bottom for that. So, but the process is exactly the same for portrait format. And yeah, you can go ahead, test it out, see whether you like a branding frame for your business, or, you know, or not even for your business. Maybe you just want to have your name on it and you don't want to destroy it with a watermark. This could be a potential alternative. Well, there you have it. That's how I created my branding frame. And if you want to know how I then turned that into an action or into a Photoshop droplet to save time in my editing process, well, make sure you watch out the other 2 videos on actions and droplets, because I created those as well, and on the same example, so you can see how you take it to the next step too, because that's a very repetitive task and you can easily create an action from that. So stay tuned for that one, or check those ones out, and I would love to hear from you. Share your images with us on the Facebook group. Have a question, post a question, whatever gets you excited in talking about photography. I would love to hear from you. So thank you for watching, and yeah, see you next time. Take care.